Good morning. First, I want to ask, please make sure you wear your mask and your social distance. Good morning. On behalf of Mayor Scott Galvin, Larry Giuseppe, the Veteran Services Officer, and myself, George Poole, Commander of the United Veterans Council, we want to thank all of you here for being here on Veterans Day. And to all the veterans here today, happy Veterans Day. Thanks for your service to our country. Now, this is the time that everybody can participate in our program with the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask the veterans to render the traditional military hand salute, facing the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today is Veterans Day. Unlike Memorial Day, where we pause to honor all those that gave their lives for our country, great American heroes. But Veterans Day is a special day. Not only is it the end of World War I, but it's also known here as Veterans Day, and we do recognize World War I as many countries around the world do. France, most of the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Barbados, and parts of India. They recognize it as Remembrance Day, remembering the ending of World War I 102 years ago, as the United States does also. We have reduced our program this year because of the social distancing, but at this time, it gives me great pleasure to invite Joanne Campbell to come up to sing the Armed Forces Medleys. I'm going to ask every veteran to render the traditional military hand salute when you hear your song so you can be recognized as a veteran. Joanne?
Army, first to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For where we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. The Navy anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. The Coast Guard is the Coast Guard marching song. We sing on land or sea, through surf and storm and howling gale. I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight to die, I, Coast Guard, we are for you. Air Force, off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder, and the boys give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting a flame from under, off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame or go down in flame. Nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Marines, from the halls of mountains
Thank you, Joanne, for recognizing all of the veterans here today. And speaking of veterans, this current situation we have going on around the world, a lot of veterans are homebound right now because of the current virus. If you know a veteran, I know there was a couple of World War II veterans that would be here with us today. They're not because they don't want a social distance. So if you know a veteran, a neighbor, a relative, whoever it is that might be home, give them a call on the phone, the old-fashioned way. Say Happy Veterans Day. The modern way, you can text, you can email, Facebook, however you do it. But if you know a veteran, please reach out to remember them. And speaking of Veterans Day, it was only about 3 weeks ago that our program came together. And if it weren't for the efforts of Mayor Scott Galvin, this never would have happened today. So Mayor Galvin, thank you so much for working an effort to have our Veterans Day program. And without further ado, it does give me great pleasure to introduce the mayor of our city, Mayor Scott Galvin, to speak to you on Veterans Day. Mayor Galvin.
Welcome, everybody, and I really would like to thank everybody for being here. And as George said, this program has come together really over the past 3 weeks, and it's, everybody knows what's going on, not only in the city of Woburn, the state, but the country, and the COVID-19 is making a rapid spread across the country. And Governor Baker, who I have great respect for, has done a phenomenal job with the state and doing his best to keep the virus in check. And as George said, 3 weeks ago we didn't know what type of crowd we could have here. At that time, the city of Woburn was defined as a red community based on the number of cases that we have per 100,000 every day. Since then, we have changed to a yellow status based on positivity rates, but that yellow has allowed us to increase the crowd to 100. And I do apologize to anybody who is not here and would have liked to have been here, but looking around, even with trying to keep the crowds low, we're easily at 100, and I know with the support that we have in this community for our great veterans, it would have been 3-4 times this anyway. So we're here today for all the right reasons to recognize our veterans and everything they do for us. I want to thank every one of them. I'd like to take a quick moment to also recognize the Marines, and I don't want to steal any of Larry's thunder, our great veterans agent. I could never steal his thunder, but to all the Marines, yesterday was the birthday of the Marines. I just want to recognize all the Marines. If you step forward, let's give them all a great round of applause for celebrating their birthday. So Veterans Day, we acknowledge what our veterans do for us, the sacrifices they make, the sacrifices their families make to allow us to exercise the liberties and freedoms that we freely exercise on a daily basis. And one of the great ones we all recognized last week was the freedom to vote in this great democracy and make our choices safely and witness which we will see a peaceful transfer of power to President Biden. I know everybody has their positions on who they voted for, and that's why we have such a great country. But I'm looking forward to the next 4 years, and again, to the veterans who are here today, I want to thank all of you for your service, and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Galvin. I just want to recognize we do have somewhat of an formed organizations today. Michael Beninati is here with his vintage Army Jeep. Dan Stock and Greg Cummings from the Woburn Elks with all the flags on his truck from the branches of the service. We want to recognize them. We also have the American Legion Riders from Post 101 with us today. And I know the colors from the Legion here. There's a couple of scout units that are here, and thank you for coming. Also, normally I would have all the elected officials up behind me today. I know they are here today, and I want to recognize them for being here. But because of social distancing, we felt best that we spread out today. And now it gives me great pleasure to invite Larry Giuseppe, the Veterans Agent of the City of Woburn, to come up and read the Governor's Proclamation. Larry?
Thank you very much. What I would like to do, if possible, is I'm going to ask our representative, Mr. Richard Haggerty, if he would please read the Governor's Proclamation for me.
Proclamation. Whereas, since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas, on November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of Cambrai by the Allied nations of Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars after 4 years of conflict. And whereas, since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas, there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country. And whereas we honor and salute those who have served our country through the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who have served our country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of freedom. And whereas in November 2020, the world will commemorate the 102nd anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m. November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2020 to be Veterans Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Haggerty. I mentioned earlier about Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not a day that we celebrate. It's a day that we remember. Remember those great American heroes that gave their lives in defense of our freedoms of our country, which we have today. Right here enshrined on our Veterans Monument, there are 347 names known to us of Woburn residents that gave their lives for our country. And not them, but all throughout the land. Every hero that gave his life for our country needs to be remembered. So at this time, I'm going to ask we pause, that have a moment of silence for all of those that gave their lives for our country. Thank you. I don't know if there's any students here today, but if you're involved in a civics project, take a selfie with us up here, send it to your teacher, and I'm sure you'll get credit for attending a civic ceremony. We're now going to have a reading of the honor roll of the deceased vets in the city known to us that have passed away since Memorial Day. It is appropriate to salute with your hand over your heart as I read the honor roll, and I request veterans render the traditional military hand salute. Arnie Clausen, World War II. James Oliver Breeden Jr., Korean. Jeff Brogan, Vietnam. William Carpenter Jr., Vietnam. Dennis K. Coughlin, Korean. James Nelson Doc Doherty Jr., peacetime. Justin J. Doucette Jr., World War II. Stanley Flight, World War II. William P. Fumacello, World War II. Warren C. Giacchetto, World War II. Louis Edmund Gilbert, Vietnam. Richard Stewart Gillette, Korean. Kevin Lyons Johnson, peacetime. Aaron L. Jordan, Vietnam. Franklin Katzenmeyer, Korean. Louis H. Long Jr., Vietnam. Retired Woburn Police Department officer John Joseph Loppy Laughlin Jr., Vietnam. Retired Woburn Police Department Sergeant Donald J. Lyons, Korean. Richard McQuarrie, Vietnam. Frank R. Matarisi, World War II. Robert James Murphy, Korean. James Keith O'Donnell Jr., Korean. Henry J. Porter Jr., Korean. Richard V. Preziosi, Korean. John P. Pryor, World War II. Peter J. Provenzano, Vietnam. Richard T. Rafferty, Korean. Albert Wright Richards Jr., World War II. William E. Rubel, peacetime. William Michael Charest, Korean. John Joseph Tanker Tancredi Sr., World War II. John Tiber, Korean. Salvatore C. Valenti, Vietnam. Anthony P. Vazella, peacetime. Frank White Jr., Korean. Charles E. Hart, Vietnam. Costa C. Cololestis, World War II. And retired Woburn Fire Department Chief, Robert E. Perry, World War II. And may they all rest in peace. Colors, order rounds. Larry just wanted me to mention that on November 17th, Larry, November 17th is the 117th anniversary of Woburn Post 543 here in Woburn up on Walnut Street, and they will be planning a ceremony in very shortly to honor that day. I know we have a lot of parents and grandparents that are here that have children that are currently serving, children and grandchildren that are currently serving in the military. On behalf of the United Veterans Council and myself, we want to say happy Veterans to them, happy Veterans Day to them wherever they are. And coming up on the holidays, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, can be a very lonely time to be far away from home. So if you know a neighbor, a relative, a friend that has a young man or woman serving in the military, send them a card. You know, when I was in the Army, when the mail clerk said, "Pool, you got mail," that was always a nice feeling. It was a touch from home, so please remember them. And to all of you that do have your children and grandchildren, thank you so much for having your children and grandchildren serve in the military. Also today, we have a city official that's here today for the last time officially, as he's going to retire very shortly. And I'm referring to Fire Chief Steve Atgate, who is with us here today. Steve, we want to recognize you not only as a veteran, but the service to the city and the fire service. We wish you well in retirement, and come back as a retiree and join us. He's always been a great supporter of Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and we wish you well in retirement. Also today we have great protection from the police department and the fire department. You can see the fire trucks around. The police are doing an orderly job keeping traffic control moving and taking care of us and keeping safe. So thank to all of them for the great job that they do. We are now going to have a firing of the volley from the George A. Campbell Post 101 of the American Legion, followed by taps. Riflemen, when ready, fire 3 volleys. In closing, everybody here that served our country, regardless how you chose to do it, you served our country honorably and proudly. It doesn't matter your branch of service. It doesn't matter your military occupation. It doesn't matter if you stayed stateside or went overseas. Always be proud to say, yes, I am a veteran of the United States Armed Forces. To every veteran here today, happy Veterans Day to all of you. Thank you all for being here. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.